at this time, the House of Managers rest.
And we begin with a stunning development in Ken Paxton's impeachment trial. The prosecution just rested its case about 30 minutes ago, much earlier than expected.
Yeah, at the start of the day, there were 15 hours and 14 minutes for prosecutors and defense attorneys to call witnesses. There was every indication prosecutors would use their final hours hearing testimony from Paxton's alleged mistress.
But Laura Olson came and went without taking the stand, and right now we're waiting to hear about a motion that could turn into an actual vote.
Let's get out to Jason Wheeler, who's been in Austin covering this trial since the start. Jason, a lot has happened within the last hour. Get us up to speed.
Yeah, I think we've seen more happening in this last hour than we saw in the first week of this trial. Chris and Izzy, you played that little bit of sound there from Rusty Hardin, a seasoned attorney for the prosecution, saying that the prosecution was resting its case late today, and he seemed to want to put those words right back into his mouth right after they came out. It appeared that what he was really trying to do was pass the witness he had just gotten done questioning so that the defense could begin questioning, and instead he said he rested the case. The defense immediately jumped on that and said, okay, great, we're ready to begin. Hardin then tried to, sort of pull things back and say, I wasn't actually trying to rest the case there. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, though, who is the presiding officer, the judge, if you will, over this trial, said, nope, too bad, too late. You already said it. So the defense is underway now. And with that, the defense rose. We thought they were going to begin putting on their case. And right out of the chute, the defense made a move. They said that they want to move for a directed verdict. Essentially what they're saying with that is that they think that there has been insufficient evidence presented by the prosecution, and so they want to go ahead and poll the jury, which is, again, in this case, the senators, on each one of those 16 impeachment articles that Ken Paxton is facing in this trial right now. So a simple majority would be needed. That would be 16 senators. A simple majority would be needed on any of those motions for that motion to be dismissed. You'll remember that the defense did this in the very early going. On the first day of this trial, they made motions to dismiss all of these different articles, and none of those came even close. I think that the most that they got on any one of those articles was 10 senators agreeing to dismiss a particular article. Again, they would need 16 to be able to dismiss one now. Now, I've been taking a deep dive into the rules for this trial that were created just for this impeachment trial. They're not totally clear on what happens next, or at least I need some clarity on it. We do know, though, that the senators would not be able to debate or discuss, that they would simply vote on each one of these articles. That would happen out there on the Senate floor for all of us to see and hear. But again, no debate or discussion about that. We are not clear, though, on what takes place now as far as the time frame. How quickly do they have to get to this motion? The prosecution has already indicated it wants to file a counter motion here, so that'll at least gum up the works a little bit here before they can move to this. So House managers, the prosecution here, again, resting their case just a little while ago, something no one expected. Apparently, not even Rusty Hardin, the one who ended up resting the case for the House. So a lot of developments, Chris and Izzy. We're going to head back in there and see what we can glean.
All right, Jason. And another development late this afternoon, Jason, Paxton's alleged mistress was called to the stand, but then deemed unavailable to testify. What does that mean?
Yeah, we showed video earlier today of her arriving here at the Capitol, sort of on standby, waiting to testify. The prosecution was expected to call her to the stand. Time kept going by because of a technicality. It would have had to happen late this afternoon for her to be called up there. Late in the afternoon, though, I saw her walking with a woman who was ushering her out quickly on the first floor, headed toward one of the exits. I asked if she was expecting to testify today still. The woman who was ushering her out said, no, we have something we have to get to, and we do not expect her to testify today. Teresa Woodard, who is here with us as well, was in the Senate gallery when the Lieutenant Governor came back in and made the announcement that she would not be available for testimony, which Teresa Woodard has been looking into with legal experts, and they're saying that that sounds like she wouldn't be testifying at all in this trial. So many developments all packed into one afternoon today. If indeed she wasn't going to testify at all, the House may have been planning to rest its case somewhat soon, but they definitely were not apparently expecting to do it when they did it.
And if this does, Jason, come to this vote, obviously there are not going to be any deliberations, but would that vote still be taken on the Senate floor so you could hear exactly how everyone's voting?
Yeah. Yeah, it would, Chris. I can take you back to day one before we got to any of the witnesses, and they were just sort of clearing through all of these different motions that had been filed pre-trial by both sides here. And you'll remember the defense said, hey, we want summary judgment. Basically, we want all of the articles to be dismissed. Well, that failed. You saw the vote happen. It was kind of a time taker, too, because, each one, they have to put it out to the jury. The jury writes it down on little pieces of paper. They go around and collect the papers, and then they go through each one, and they make sure that that senator intended to vote that way. And again, none of those votes to dismiss even came close to the threshold that they needed. Now that senators have heard all of this testimony from the prosecution, might some of them say, yeah, I'm ready to go ahead and dismiss? We will see about that. We should note that all of the ones who did vote to dismiss on day one were Republicans. There was a core of 6 of them who voted to dismiss on every one of those articles. So again, they didn't even come close before. Might they this time? We will certainly get to see, and that'll be a litmus test. If they don't decide to dismiss, the defense will know it's got its work cut out for it still here.
All right, Jason, we'll let you get back in there and check back in with you if anything develops. Since Paxton was suspended at the end of May, he hasn't received a dime of his salary, which runs about $154,000 a year. But even if 2/3 of the senators vote to convict him, he will not lose his pension. We reached out to the Employees Retirement System of Texas, which handles plans for most state lawmakers, and they told us those decisions are made by the legislature, and there's no state law that would revoke Ken Paxton's pension. The ERS hasn't said how much he has accrued so far, but considering Paxton has been serving the state in some capacity for more than 20 years, it's expected to be significant.
And even though time is definitely winding down in the impeachment proceedings, there's still plenty of time for you to get caught up on all the happenings. Each day, thousands of you are streaming our digital coverage with investigative reporter Tanya Iser. They are on live right now. The full analysis from Tanya and our team of political experts is available at WFAA+. You can also keep up on WFAA.com and on our YouTube page.